There we go. I don't know why it does that, but it makes me go right to the site and join to be host. But okay, so here we go. And good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. We got a little bit of ground to cover, so I'll try to make it the first stuff as quick as possible. Matt can't make it tonight. Um, so anyway, if I can find a blank piece of paper here, we'll get started. All right. How about any correspondence? Anybody got any correspondence? All right. So let's get right started with some old business here real quick. I sent out information on the SET, and I did send out some links today. I put them out on the different groups IO. Feel free to share them. I did share them with well, John Fritzy would have got them from the one group. I shared them with Scott W2LC, the Western New York section manager. And I also shared with John, one of the Racy's radio officers down in the city. So anyways, we should hopefully have some good participation. But remember, the first meeting is next week, and we're going to need some volunteers to log in to start talking to and helping. We need to do an overview next week of 60 meters and kind of how it works, what to expect. We need to talk to people about their equipment, and we can look up the equipment, see what'll work, what won't. But we're going to need to help. We've got quite a few people. I think we're going to need to help with 60 meters. I've had some emails and some stuff going back and forth with people, so I know we're gonna need to help them. There's been a lot of talk about, well, what frequency? Well, there's only 5, so find us. That's the best answer I can give, because you just don't know what's going to be busy and when. So I guess that's the best thing I can say. And then if anybody asks, is everybody clear on the format of the net, what the net's going to be? We're going to run it like a worked all states or a DX net. Okay. And I think that's the most efficient way to get to everybody on frequency, to get a signal report to and from everybody else on frequency. So, as far as the ECs, the EOCs, and whatever, if you're an EC and you're going to participate, or you're going to have an EOC active, I'd ask that you be there for the duration, so that people who check in can work the ECs and EOCs, and then when they're done, they're done. They're free to leave if they want. If they want to hang around and see how they hear other people and log them, that's fine. There's an Excel spreadsheet on the website that you can download and use, and then email in if you want. That's got all the counties and stuff and drop-down menus. Same with signal reports. You can just click on it, click on what you want, and be done. You'll have to type in the call sign, of course, but other than that. And there's also just a PDF if you want to write the log. The important thing is we've got to get people to share them with us. So when they're done, if they can scan and email their login, mail us a copy of it, whatever they want to do, email the Excel spreadsheet, whatever they want to do. But if we don't have that we can't compile a list, it won't be successful, really. So we need to have that.
Who's going to be the depository for those reports, Rocco?
Well, that's a good question. Do we have a volunteer, somebody who wants to type them all into a spreadsheet? If we don't, I'll just have them send them to me and I'll do it.
I didn't open up all of the logs that you put together already. but if everybody uses the same spreadsheet, can't we just merge them?
We can, if they use a spreadsheet, but not everybody is probably going to use, Excel or, their version Open Office. This would be compatible in Excel or Open Office, but if everybody doesn't use it, then we can't. We'll have stuff to type in as well.
Can I make a suggestion, Rocco?
You absolutely can.
In order to share the burden here a little bit, why don't we make each county EC responsible for obtaining the reports from the people within their county? The EC puts it in a spreadsheet and sends it to you for compilation.
You, sir, are awesome. That will be the format. That's what we will do. I like it. Very good. Thank you. That's a great idea. And I'm excited because we have some other people who are interested. So, from outside the section. So it should be good. Look at Pete is outside.
That's right. I just got home late, so I'm going to join you guys. I'm going to be listening for a few minutes while I carry this stuff inside. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
I've just bought some junk. I don't know if you could see it.
Junk is good.
Cabinets. I don't know.
Anyway,
Maybe you could see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, that's good, Mark. That's a good idea, and that's what we'll do. At least I'm going to start out as net control. Unless somebody else wants to do it, I figured I wouldn't put the burden on somebody else. And I have run probably 400 or 500 worked all states and DX nets back in my day. So I should be able to facilitate getting the net run through pretty quick. All right. Any other questions on the SET or comments?
I just heard a bunch of guys saying, "Oh, it sounds interesting, but I can't run lower sideband on that frequency." And then you tell them that it's supposed to be upper sideband, and that really throws them into a loop. So that's an early thing to be addressed when you're doing the training.
Well, that's why we have 5 training nights, Tom. So hopefully we can hit everything. If we hit everything in the first couple of training nights, then we'll start doing some on-the-air practice and some digital practice with folks. But that's a good point.
I have a clarification request.
Yeah.
So Mark had a great suggestion about each county EC collating their results, but then send them to you, or where are they going?
Yeah, send them to me after that.
Okay.
And because I can make time. I usually get in the office real early and I'm messing around in the morning, or sometimes in the afternoon I have some time, so I can play with them then.
Very good.
We'll put a time on it. Maybe maybe within 10 days after the SET, they got to have them to the EC, and then we can go from there. Okay, so there was an idea brought up by JP at the Eastern Fulmont Amateur Radio Club meeting a couple of weeks ago. And it sort of goes along with that canal event that's going on. And what JP had mentioned is it might be fun to do that in a way that everybody can participate in, because if the canal, Erie Canal or Black River Canal doesn't go through your area, then you may not be doing much with it. And how about a POTA soda type of thing with the with the Adirondacks, and then it was just sort of a natural activate the Adirondacks thing, just kind of came out. And we thought about taking, it could be a week-long event when people could go out during the week, or whenever they felt like it. It could, be on a weekend, whatever. But take the time where Northern New York does a special event, and as many people as are interested and want to get out and do POTAs and sodas in the Adirondack Mountains. So what came about, or the mountains in your area, right? Northern New York. And so what came about was, trying to find a weekend that's a good weekend to do it. Because first thing is, you do not want to do it on a contest weekend, because you can't compete with all that power and all that noise. That's the first thing. And so I came up with a September day, which just happened to be the same day as the canal thing, so that's not going to work. And then Pete had kind of mentioned, and Jules, maybe you did too, I can't remember, but I had thought originally fall, because hey, you get out in the fall foliage, yada yada, and then people thought, well, some people may want to camp, and so if you go too far into the fall, you're losing daylight quicker. So for the people that don't want to camp, maybe more towards the summer is better, and it'll be warmer, and maybe more people are going to want to go out. And if they want to camp, it's going to be warmer. They got to, they don't have to bring stuff for heat or whatever. So we're going to try to look in somewhere in the August range, I think.
Rocco,
Yes.
The canal thing that's going on isn't just one day.
Yeah, we
It's
know
from-
that.
Okay.
We just don't want this to compete with it.
Okay.
And we don't want it to be on the same weekend with it, because there's going to be people who are going to want to do both.
Gotcha.
So that's why. Anyways, we actually have an expert POTA soda operator amongst us tonight, and Jules has offered to help with this a little bit, which is great. And maybe talk to us about some best practices, and maybe what we want to look for a date, what would be better dates, and maybe we let Jules pick the date with what he thinks would be the best. Look at shake his head. Well, I mean, whatever you think is best, Jules. Certainly we can work. But if you kind of want to talk to us a little bit about maybe the best way you envision us doing this, and what we could expect from doing an activation, what we should look at, that type of thing, so we can make an intelligent decision. We'd really appreciate it.
Okay, you're throwing it out there, Rocco?
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, Rocco hit me up with this a couple weeks ago, and given it some thought. Yeah, I probably got the most. I've got over almost 8,000 contacts in the Adirondack Park, 173 activations. Going to get a couple more tomorrow. Yeah, it's a big park. It goes all the way from Peru, almost down to Johnstown, over Lake Champlain, the whole Lake Champlain border, Queensbury, over into the Tug Hill area. So it's a big area. Things we got to look at is spreading people out. The campgrounds, a lot of them will be closing about September 1st, but you can camp there a lot of the places. That's one issue. Another issue is try to split everybody up into different bands. So if you might have 2 or 3 people within the same area, if they all work different bands, I usually find 15 or 20 and 40 are probably the best ones. Lately, 10, 15 have been really hot. I've been making a lot of contacts, DX contacts into Europe. I got Uruguay a couple days ago, South America. So, we want to look at doing that. also, if people want to get do twofers or threefers, there's some opportunities in the park. Some of the state campgrounds are parks within the park. Uh, there's a couple threefers. I'm going to do one tomorrow down in the Queensbury area. Three parks with one contact. It goes really quick. It's like that guy in Washington, D.C. You get nine parks in one contact. Uh, so there's another three for Crown Point Historical Site. You can pick up three there. You can pick up three up by where Jerry is, up in Peru. Uh, Marsh. You can pick up three parks there. And a lot of places in the park are on the North Country Scenic Trail. They're also on the Empire State Trail. So if you're along the trail, and I pretty much figured out where all the places are, you can set up there and you can pick up two contacts. People love twofers and threefers. You're going to get a lot of pileups. Another issue is band. What's the band conditions going to be on that day? You just never know. Some days, like 10 meters, been hot lately. So I've worked a lot of 10 meter. Your standard is going to be 40, and a lot of people locally want to pick up the park. So yeah, there's a lot, a lot of variables here to look at. Oh boy, dates. I don't know, Rocco. I'm tied up till the end of till Labor Day with a summer job. So, but September might not be bad. I mean, most of the people doing this aren't going to be camping in tents, and a lot of the state campgrounds are free. I know, like Racket Lake, Lake Durant Campground. They're closed, but you can get in there and camp for free. Other thing is cell service for spotting. A lot of places you will not have cell service, and this is where it'd be great to have. You can't make POTA contacts using a repeater. Um, it's got to be on 520 or whatever you're going to do, simplex. And what I've found is I get in a spot where I can't get cell service. I call one of my friends in Tupper Lake or somebody down in Long Lake, and I said, "Will you spot me I call them on the 2 meters through the repeater. They'll spot me, and that's really good too. Otherwise, you got to keep calling CQ till somebody answers. And most operators will spot you if you ask them, could you spot me? Or they'll volunteer most of the time. So that's another thing we can look at. I guess the first thing I do is probably pick a date and see where you want to go from there. So,
well, let me ask this: anybody remember what the date is for that the canal activation?
I thought you told me the 12th and 13th that week.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
16th to the 25th.
What is it?
September 16th through the 25th.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
a Tuesday through a Wednesday. It's a weird thing, but that's what it is.
So we could do the first weekend in September, probably. Because the only contest that weekend really isn't going to affect the phone operators, and that would be, I believe, ARRL sweepstakes phone is that weekend, because you got the first and third weekends in September. So.
Yeah, I'd say the first weekend, or do you want to make this 2 days, Rocco, or 1 day, or?
It would be whenever anybody wants to come out, right? But we could say, Friday to Sunday. if
Uh-huh.
we wanted to do something like that, right? That would give, somebody wants to go out Friday, if they got Friday off and want to go out Friday and Saturday, or if they get Saturday, it gives them that whole weekend.
Yeah, I forgot some of you guys are still working. uh, yeah, Rocco, either that 5th, 6th, and 7th or the next weekend, which is the one you originally thought of.
Well, that weekend.
No, there's something else. Yeah.
When did you say that event was, Steve?
He said the 5th, 7th things through the 25th or something.
The 17th to the okay. So yeah, so we're safe.
25.
17 to 25. Okay.
16 to 25.
All right, so we would be safe then if we went to 5th, 6th, and 7th. I don't see I'm looking. I don't see. I know that's ARL September VHF and getting up. Yeah, I think I don't see anything major there. Michigan QRP Labor Day CW Sprint, that's on the 2nd. So the 6th, CW Ops Open All Asian DX Contest, that's not going to affect anything. Wake Up QRP Sprint, that won't. Yeah, I mean there's nothing major then that I can see here. Let me just check. I'm checking the one contest calendar. Let me check the other one here.
And if that's a Labor Day weekend, you could go, though, you could do the Monday as well.
No, a Labor Day is the 1st this
Oh,
year.
Labor Day is the 1st?
Real early.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Never
look.
mind.
Yeah.
Let's see what they show in September. September VHF 13th. Yeah, I'd say we're good. That would be September 5th through the 7th would work if that's what we want to do. Now let me ask this. Just does anybody have a problem with those dates?
The only thing I would mention is that some of the state parks do close at Labor Day, right? And I think that the POTA rules are that whatever facility you're in has to be open to the public at that time. So
yeah,
rules can help with that.
Yeah, they're not open for camping, but you can still go in there. Okay, you can hike in there. For instance, right here, Lake Eaton, it closes, but people are in there every day walking. So the park is technically open. You just can't camp. Same thing with Forked Lake. A lot of the ones here, even though they're closed for camping, they're not gated off. So.
Yeah, Macomb Park is the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just up there in I think in November, and it was open, but the campground is closed. So yeah.
It's even open in the wintertime for snow.
Okay. Yep.
Country.
Okay. So that's not an issue.
Okay. Any other comments?
The only other thing going on in that time would be that week of the, let me see if I can get it back up here. The 7th through the 14th, or actually the 8th through the 14th. That's the Battle of Plattsburgh week.
Well, we're over on the 7th, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that would be good. I don't know if we're going to be doing anything special event station wise yet, but that's up our next meeting.
Well, Jerry, you can go over on Crab Island.
No, thank you. That's Ivy Isle.
JP, any thoughts or comments?
No, actually, it's good just to have the discussion, because my first impression or first thought, and I'm sorry, guys, I don't have a camera on this system. You have to believe me when I say I'm ugly as hell. So, anyways, what really came up to this is the one time that I ran into an event that was being done along the entire Ridgeway Parkway, the Blue Ridge Parkway, and they had people at all these different miles markers, and they were all just calling CQ, et cetera. And you tried to, as an outsider, we're trying to just see how many of those mile markers you could get. So that's kind of what I was originally thinking. And then, of course, I like to do the parks on the air stuff too. So I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe we could combine it somehow.
All right. So the question now becomes, do we have somebody, somebodies, whatever, who wants to kind of take charge? And I can help, with, do some of the advertising and whatever, but, do we want, we're probably going to want to put this in QST. So we'll need to have somebody reach out and do that, which is easy enough to do.
Yeah, as long as we can agree on a format, like what exactly we are doing. If we're all just going to do our own independent POTA activations, but just kind of make it sound like it's one group, I mean, or are we going to try to make it a group effort, that sort of scenario?
Well, I think what we want to do is promote it as, the Northern New York section is going to do activate the Adirondacks, and they're going to have individual groups out that weekend from different parks. Yeah. And so I think what we do is we put in QST the event as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. And then we try to figure out we can come up with an award. It's a simple certificate. Is easy enough to do, but we have to figure out, what you're going to do to earn the certificate, right? So how many stations are you going to have to work? Well, we don't know, because we don't know how many we're going to have out in the field. Right. We don't know what that commitment's going to be. If we think that we'll have 10, then out in the field, then maybe we want to have them work 5. Yep. And get earn the certificate for activate the Adirondacks. And we can certainly do that easy enough. Okay. Yeah. And unlike some of these other things where you got to send them $2 in a self-addressed stamped envelope, we're not going to do that shit.
No, I don't like that either.
We'll we can send them a PDF certificate. Yep. Or which would probably be the best thing to do. We can make a nice PDF certificate and put their call sign in it and whatever, and go from there.
Yeah, I like that idea. Especially using the PDF, that's a really good idea, actually.
If we decide we want to mail a certificate, I'm fine with that too, but I'm not going to charge anybody to do it. Yeah. They just, what, they put in effort too, right? So.
Rocco, the other thing you're going to get, if we've got all these people activating, they're going to be doing park to park. So if I'm up here in Long Lake, and you guys are down in, wherever, I can make a contact back and forth. If that's going to count too.
Sure.
Okay.
No reason why not?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
that happens to me.
The individual activators can also earn the certificate.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we can work on that part of it, later. Well, what we got to figure out right away is if we're going to do this, because it's almost April, right? So if we're going to do this, we got to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the dates we're going to do it. This is, and then we got to start pushing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't push it and keep pushing it, it won't go anywhere.
Question, Rocco.
Yes.
Is it going to be only parks on the air, or will it include fire towers and summits on the air?
I think it includes summits and fire towers.
I think it includes anything that's in the Adirondacks.
Correct.
Well, if you say that, then we can't participate because we're not in the Adirondacks. We're the southernmost county in the section.
But it's not that far to go to the Adirondacks.
Well, I mean, there's places that we can operate within a county if we don't.
Oh, I see.
As part of the program, if we're on one of our normal sites where the parks guys go, or up on the local fire towers, but it shouldn't discount, and make it only 9 counties because this county is not in the Adirondacks.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I mean, do we want to keep it in the Adirondacks? And if we do, I'm okay with that because Schoharie County isn't that far from the Adirondacks.
Why don't you just add one word to the title of the event and call it the Adirondack area? And that way Schoharie County's included.
Or when you write it up, make it a note that it's Northern New York section counties participating in this activity.
I think that's the way to go. Because that includes everybody. And let's face it, probably 2/3 of Clinton County half of Clinton County is not in the park.
More than that, probably
I
3/4.
I don't know that it matters if it's in the park, right? POTA is part of it. SOTA is another part of it. So I don't know how that, and fire towers are another thing. So it doesn't necessarily exclude Schoharie County because they have fire towers, they have summits.
You could change it from Adirondacks just to Northern New York section.
Yeah, it's more inclusive.
Activate Northern New York, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you
That
could.
sounds good.
I sort of like that idea. Change it to like something like Northern New York section, but then in the description, put we're activating the Adirondack Park, we're activating the foothills, the canals, fire towers, and just list all the different types of things that we're activating for the area.
Well, we have to think of a catchy name.
That's a good point because there's a lot of state forests that are right on the edge of the Adirondack Park. And because they're called state forests, they're not wild forests. So that might work out real well.
Well, that's kind of why I thought of the, going with the name Activate the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
And then just, going fire towers and whatever else, because, it technically, it doesn't matter. It's the whole area.
Exactly. Yeah. For instance, I think Macomb State Park is not in the park, but it's it's kind of in the Adirondacks. So
right.
Yeah.
And it certainly sounds a hell of a lot better than Activate the Northern New York section. Seriously, it doesn't sound like it's going to catch any attention.
Yeah.
How many people have heard of the Adirondack Mountains, right? A lot.
Right.
A lot. Where if you come off and you say Activate the Adirondacks, people are going to think Adirondack Mountains. They're going to know it. And then you put in there, we're activating, the Adirondack Mountains, the parks within the Adirondack Mountains and surrounding
fire towers and everything in the surrounding area.
Fire towers and SOTA activations in the Adirondacks and surrounding areas.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's not that far. Like you said, Schoharie and all of those other counties, we're not that far from that Adirondacks itself.
Oh, and they've got a couple of summits, and they've got at least one really nice fire tower, you know, that we've been to, and and maybe even more. What'd you say, Tom? Two? So two. So, you know, and they've got a couple of people that are pretty active, Bert and a couple others. So, you know, who are going to jump on board. So, I just think we need to think about how we're gonna promote it, how we're gonna, you know, get it out there, and how many people we can entice into playing.
Yeah, that's just it. You know, promoting it to people who may want to try to, you know, contact all these parks and places within the Adirondacks is great, but we also need to promote it within so we have more, you know, more volunteers and people to actually get out there to do it.
Well, JP, you know, yeah, we're going to put it in QST, right? So,
yeah.
Anyways, we need a small committee, 2 or 3 people that we could have another meeting, you know, maybe a Zoom meeting just to cover this plan, you know, what we're going to do, how we're going to get the word out, and whatever. So, I know we need a volunteer for that committee, Jules.
I'll volunteer. Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, maybe it's me, but you know, JP.
Yeah.
Interested?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
And I will obviously help. Anyone else wants to be on the committee? Speak up now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Jules and JP, I'll send an email across to you guys. We got to figure out a time real soon when we can just have maybe a 30-45 minute meeting. We do have a date, September 5th through 7th. So I would suggest that we go through and let's start telling people, hey, September 5th through 7th, we're going to do this, activate the Adirondacks and surrounding areas. We're going to be doing POTA, SOTA, fire towers, you know,
nice.
in that area. And let's try to get some groups together on the air. And
Can I make a suggestion? Not to be confused with raising my hand to be on the committee.
Oh, you already volunteered, I heard you say.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, what's up, Steve?
Well, I was thinking, you know, as you do or as the committee does a blast for QST and whatever media outlets that they're going to go to, perhaps as well, when you're doing your email blast to have people activate, you might want to think about maybe some kind of a short a blurb that they could read or say while they're doing their activation that would explain, so that when people are looking for contacts, you know, for this award or whatever, they'll know that they've got somebody that's part of that. And also you have to figure out what you're going to do for, you know, them submitting logs or whatever to get your award as well.
Agreed. Usually, you know, I've heard plenty of activators tell you what to do, but also that's in QST as well. So
we could just point them that way.
Yeah. So we could point them, but we could point them to QST. We could actually point them to QRZ. Now, you know, if the group wanted to get, and we'll talk about this in that meeting, but if the group wanted to get a special event call where people could use that call or use those calls, you know, and then you could point them to a QRZ page that way. You know, it just depends.
Suggestions on logging.
just send in a log extract. That's what everybody else does.
No, my suggestion would be to make it easier for the people that are sending in the information, do just like a contest. Logs must be submitted within 5 days or 7 days after end of the event. Otherwise, they're going to be trickling in until
Yeah.
next Hanukkah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we'll just put a log deadline in. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we can talk about this, like you said, in the next
Yep.
meeting that we have for it.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do. We'll put together. I'll send out an email to you guys tonight, and then we can just go back and forth on the next meeting date. So I don't want to hold this meeting up too long with that, but this seems like it's got a good potential. So I'd like to work at it. Plus, if it does take off, it's good because, it's something, Jules, that you like to do a lot and that you're good at. And JP, you like to do it. And I don't know the first damn thing about it, but I'd be willing to learn. But it's something, we need to come up with little things throughout the year that the section does as a section that certain groups within the section really grasp onto. So, because I'd like to get into, there's something for everybody type of thing. If we can do that, we'll be successful as a section.
Yeah,
Rocco.
not to mention working together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rocco, one question. What's the boundaries of your northern New York section as far going east?
So it's 10 counties. So
Okay.
And we're not going to get too bent out of shape.
Okay.
Because we're saying in surrounding areas, right?
Okay.
So let's not put a hard boundary on it.
Okay.
And obviously, if somebody in California wants to, that's not going to work. But let's try to keep it in our New York area. But if it spills out a county or so what? What do we care?
It spilled out automatically with me because I'm in Saratoga. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Warren County, Essex County.
Exactly.
They're all in the park.
And there's no, and the thing is, there's no reason we can't work with them.
Okay.
As well, if they want to play, right? And then not only are we doing this activate the Adirondacks thing and surrounding areas,
Okay.
but it gives some Aries groups some practice too. We're going to go out and so the POTA guys are happy, the SOTA guys are happy, the Fire Tower guys are happy, some of the Aries guys are happy. Everybody's happy, and we're playing radio, and that's what we don't get paid to do.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll have. I'll send an email tonight, and then we can just work on replying to the email the next couple of days and figure out what we want to do. And I did send out information on the SET, so let's kind of push the SET. There's a couple other things I wanted to cover quick. And guys, I apologize for monopolizing this, but a lot of things came to light this month, and I figured a few things out. So we have DePauville coming up in May, of course, same weekend as Dayton. We have Speculator on August 9th. And guys, I get it. Not everybody's going to want to travel to Speculator. Not everybody's going to want to travel to DePauville. I understand that. Where I feel we're lacking right now, and I'm not putting anybody down or anything like that. Please don't take it that way. But our advertising for this stuff sucks, right? I look at just how other groups advertise their ham fests. And you could take a good lesson from what Adam is doing at W2WCR right now. I mean, there is always something coming out. The ham fest is a month away. The ham fest is 3 weeks away. There's this. Adam has been really good. I sent him an email and said, hey, it's great you're sending this stuff out and, you have tables, but You sign up for a table, you don't get anything back telling you, you signed up. And he goes, you know what? You're right. That's a good idea. And immediately fixed it. Okay. We're not advertising our Northern New York events enough. And it shows. DePauville is shrinking every year. Speculators kind of holding its own, but it's not growing in leaps and bounds. And so I'm just saying, there's a website. If you type in Southern Adirondack Hamfest, you'll find the website. I think it's adkfest.org or something like that. There's a flyer on there. I had Don make that flyer into a JPEG so we can post that on Facebook groups and stuff like that. Guys, if you're going to a Hamfest, please go on the website, download the flyer, print out couple dozen copies, take them with you. It doesn't hurt to hand them out, right? If you're talking to somebody, hey, do you know that we have Hamfest? Emails to your groups, your clubs, your groups that you're involved in. Take flyers to them and have those guys do it. The word of mouth thing spreads fast, but we don't do a good job advertising our stuff. And I think that, DePauville, honestly, it's in Clayton. It's in the spring. All right. Yeah. It's kind of off the beaten path, but for anybody that for those of you who are familiar with the area, right, that there's a lot of shit to do in that area. And there's a lot of fun to be had. I mean, you can do boat tours, event name for what?
For your mountain thing there. That's all. Just wanted to throw that in there.
We already we determined that it's Activate the Adirondacks.
I thought you were looking for the name. Okay.
Yeah, Activate the Adirondacks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name.
Rocco.
Yeah.
Just a couple of thoughts on your last there. Advertising. You're right. We could do better with advertising. But I think what's important with advertising is follow-up. You can't have follow-up and coordination. You can't have 30 people doing different things trying to advertise an event and thinking that the advertising is going to be successful. Advertising campaigns they're designed to have an end to have an accomplishment. So you have to follow up. You have to have a plan. How often do you put that JPEG out on, and which sites do you put it on, and when do you follow up with emails? It's got to be a regular plan, and somebody that knows about advertising and how to do that would be the person to coordinate that. I don't know if we have that resource available to us. That was my first thing.
Well, you are a public information coordinator,
Yeah.
But just so you know, because you said it.
Yeah, I know.
I got it.
But I'm also telling you that I'm not the best person for it if we have somebody that has that expertise in that type of field. The second thing I wanted to bring up was, talking about attendance at Speculator and DePaulville. I think it's very important that we have those Hamfests in the rural areas. But just because we don't get attendance like they do at Hamfests in Syracuse and Albany and Saratoga doesn't mean that we're not successful, because we're in a rural area and we're drawn from an area that has an awful lot less people.
Well, I think what ends up happening, and what I've seen in other areas, guys, and what I've heard about other areas, is they get to a Hamfest and there's not a lot of people there because it's a rural area. So two things happen there. Number one, there's no sellers. So there's nothing for somebody who's coming, Jules is coming to look for a 2-meter amplifier, but, and I have one, but I'm not there. Okay. So now, not only did I not get rid of my 2-meter amplifier, which is my own damn fault for not showing up, but Jules didn't get what he was looking for. And why do I want to bother to go to that thing next year when I can go here, right? And so it's a two-way street, and so you need both you need both buyers and sellers. But while I agree with you, Steve, um, you got to figure out how to bring people in. You got to have a way to get them to call in, because certainly Montgomery, Fulton, and Hamilton counties aren't going to draw in enough people to have a decent Hamfest. It's not going to happen. There's not. First of all, there's not enough people probably with not enough stuff to sell. So so if you're going to show up and have a bullshit session, that's great, but you're not going to have much of a swap meet.
And I agree, and I agree that it's important that we push it and grow it. I just didn't want people to get discouraged because DePaulville and Speculator isn't the size of Dayton, you know.
Yeah, well, it'll never happen, right? But yes, there's no reason. But there's no reason, Steve, why Speculator in DePaulville can't be bigger than the little Boston Spa solar building thing, and they're only about the same size if you think about it. I mean, it's hard to tell because you got people coming in and out, right? But they should be they should be bigger. DePaulville draws from a pretty big area, and I think a lot of people don't know that, and other people, that there's actually a lot to do up in Clayton. And if you wanted to go up and check out a nice little Hamfest and take a boat tour on the St. Lawrence, go check out a distillery. There's an asphalt racetrack there. There's a dirt racetrack there. There's all kinds of things to do in that area, right?
Well, then maybe that's what we ought to be pushing.
But we're not promoting all that stuff, and and they're not either. Okay, they're not necessarily either, right? But so I just think it's kind of like our job as officers in the section to think about how do we grow their Hamfest, just like how do we grow the Speculator thing? How do we add another one? How do we add one? How do we add one up by Mark, or in Plattsburgh somewhere that's going to be big? How do we do that? That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I years ago went to the Milton Hamfest, and not this last year, but the year before, went to that one over near Burlington, which is pretty well advertised, and it just seems it's no bigger than DePaulville, really, but they've got a lot of different things there. Displays out in the hallway and so forth. It just seems like a different animal, even though it's not really any bigger. So I'm not sure what they're doing to promote it, but it just seems like DePaulville I know about because it's near me, but they're doing something different, and I don't know what the difference is, but maybe someone could talk to that might have some contacts over there and kind of get an idea. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe somebody knows of something we can do, without a lot of effort that might help out in this regard.
Well, I think one thing, Steve, that you just said is, and I think that may be part of the problem, is the without a lot of effort part, because it takes effort. And I hate to say that, and I don't want to sound negative, right? But it all takes effort, and so if the idea is we're not going to put in much effort because we really don't care, that's what our results are going to show.
Rocco?
Yeah, Jerry.
I can give you some insight on the Burlington. The one major difference that they have from DePaulville is they have forums, and those forums draw a lot of people from around the area, a lot of hams. They have satellite. They They have uh, all types digital forums, and they also have forums on the FCC and what's going on in radio in general. And I think that would help DePauville. It would, they'd have to go, but they'd have to go to at least maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon so they could fit the stuff in. But the one problem there is you need separate rooms. Because-
Well, and you're not going to get that there, and you're
Right.
not going to get that at Speculator either. But you could still do something.
Right, you could have
Um,
a forum on new amateurs, getting new amateurs in, uh,
To-
something like that.
And to answer Nate's comment, we also have license testing at DePauville and Speculator, Nate.
Comment about that, Rocco. And I think DePauville, they actually do the testing on site.
They do.
An issue with Speculator is we take all our volunteer examiners, 3, 4, 5 of them, whatever, and the candidates that are going to take the test, maybe a half dozen to a dozen, and we send them someplace in the town off-site. They take the exam and then they disappear. They don't come back. There is plenty of room within that facility that they can set up the exams in the back corner and still have them
They'll
done.
never be quiet enough, Tom.
Yes, it will, because that's what happens at DePauville, is that it is quiet enough that those guys sit at the bar and take the exams there, and it works. It doesn't have to be dead complete quiet. I think we send a lot of people away, and the other thing, unfortunately, about Speculator, and we're not going to do anything about that, is for people that need to come a distance. Where do they stay?
Well, I've already said that. The Cedarhurst is a great place to stay. The rates are reasonable. There's the other place across the street is booked up now because it's that time of year. But you definitely got it. And then there's places within 10 miles of there easily all over the place. The Orbitz, Expedia, any of that stuff. If you want to stay somewhere, there's no reason why you can't stay somewhere up there close. Just like DePauville. You're going to say, where do you stay? Well, you can stay in Watertown. You can stay in Clayton. You can stay in Evans Mills. There's all kinds of places to stay.
No, I misspoke when I said DePauville. Speculator is
Yeah, I just told you. The Cedarhurst Motor Lodge.
in Speculator?
Yes. There's 2 hotels, then there's just down the street, there's another place. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's a lodge. Jules, you know what I'm talking about?
Well, the advertisers need to get that information in their flyers.
Melody Lodge, is that it? They've been closed. They've been closed.
No. There's another place Pete was talking about that you can get rooms at, and they have a restaurant as well.
And you got B&Bs probably in that area too.
You do. You got a lot of Airbnbs in there. So, anyways, there's some stuff coming up in the chat too. There's nothing about the DePauville Ham Fest. Right. They have no. Right. The only thing I see is on their page. They did have one. They did have a Ham Fest thing, Nate, or Matt, on their page at one point, on their web page. And that was last year, and I didn't find it this year, but I happened to know the date because I knew that it was the same weekend as Dayton. JP, yeah, the one thing they do, a little show and tell contest. Yeah, exactly. Well, we have, which we're going to have a Q&A, a section Q&A for people. But yeah, I mean, doing forums are great if we have the room. We don't. The first thing we got to do is bring people in. And we're not doing that. So the food helped, you know, some, but still, that was the biggest complaint we got the first year was no food. So we fixed that. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth on the events and advertising them. All right, anybody got anything else they want to bring up or talk about or elaborate on? You guys are quiet tonight. All right, anybody got anything on the Aries front? Okay, nothing on the Aries front. Anything going on in your areas that you want to talk about section wise?
Sure, I'll bring something up.
Go ahead, Nate.
Sure. So, Franklin County / Essex is working with the local search and rescue team. We are starting to build a team of ham radio operators within their group. So at the moment, they have 10 ham radio operators, and hopefully by the end of this year, their whole team will be ham radio certified. And they're going to start deploying ham radio as their primary communications technology in the field when they go on searches with the local DEC. One of the things we're working with them on is interfacing with the Cal Topo Map APRS. So we're going to set up a local APRS node on the base station site for the search. And they purchased a bunch of radios, and we're going to be able to collect that local data and bring it into a local map on the computer so the DEC can see where the teams are in the field real time, which they currently can't do with their existing system. So we're going to kind of be able to do a little show and tell with the DEC there and show what ham radio can really do. And that's about it at the moment.
Well, that's cool.
Hey, Rocco.
Yes, Steve.
A resource for that, if they're looking for some help with that, might be the guys that do the Tour de Cure. When they do the Tour de Cure, every single ham radio operator, bike repair unit, everything that's out on the road is APRS'd and on a local map in their command center for all their people. So they've been doing it for years. So if you're looking for some information on how to do it or maybe some best practices, I'm sure that group would be able to help out.
That's cool. All right. Okay. So I'm not trying to be negative here, guys. I just wanted to get everybody thinking about how we do a better job informing people. You know, what we're doing, what we got out there, and maybe get some better attendance at our events. And I know it's a double-edged sword sometimes, and I know it's a bitch, but we should just kind of look at what other people are doing successfully and try to copy that. So
I wonder if we didn't market those ham fests as ham flea market and electronics, or add some other, just a couple of more words in there that might get people out that are looking for stereos or something along that line. I don't know how profitable or if that would ultimately be a good thing or not, but that's a suggestion as well.
Well, if you're going to market to people other than people that are just hams, I think the obvious group that we ought to be going after right away is the preppers. They're all about communications. It's part of the thing that they do. So if we can get them to show up to some of these ham fests, well, not only are we going to increase our participation, but maybe we can get some new amateur radio people out there too.
Good night, Jules. I'll send you an email in a while.
Good night, Jules.
Yeah.
Hey, Jules.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I also don't want to turn a ham fest or a swap meet into something it doesn't need to be either. You know, for instance, I went to a ham fest and ham fest swap meet and computer fest, right? So, which sounded pretty good, right? And you're gonna have, and it's cool because we use computers all day long. So I drove 4 hours to get into a place that had a bunch of shit computers. I mean, crap, stuff that wasn't much better than a Pentium 2, right? And they had piles of them, and they had them in boxes, and they had parts and modems and all, yeah, all kinds of 56K modems and all kinds of junk. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see what we got for radio gear. Let's see what we got for radio gear. Where's there? Oh, there's something. Yeah, I don't think so. 20 minutes around that place and 4 hours back home. So I want to be careful we don't do that. You know, ham radio and electronics, yeah, you know, but I certainly don't want to turn it into a computer fest because it don't work, you know. But yeah, I mean, some sort of, you know, if we can attract the preppers, I mean, that's great. Listen, we had 30 some odd people at a technician session several weeks ago, and probably 15 of them were preppers. You know, and that's,
And you probably don't know where they are.
huh?
Most of them people don't understand where they are. If you go to these Jeep clubs, there's a whole bunch of them in there.
Yes, it wasn't so much a Jeep club. It was a group of guys from the surrounding area that were pretty. I'll tell you what, they were pretty slick, and they did their homework, and 90% of them studied, and they came prepared. So that was good to see.
The only drawback with that is after they got their license, you probably never hear from them again. That's what I've found so far with a lot of the preppers is they get interested, and once they get what they want, you never hear from them again. They don't actually participate.
Yep, they go back off the radar.
No, the cool thing about this is I've known CJ for a while now, and they're actually he's actually putting a group of communicators together. So, because they're actually some pretty live preppers, and they understand that they're gonna, if in a shit hits the fan scenario, they're gonna need communications, and so they're not stopping at VHF. They're
Oh,
you know,
nice.
there's like 6 or 8 of them coming over this weekend that got their technicians, you know, just a month ago to upgrade to general. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But you're right, the majority of them don't do that. So, and then part of that, let me just say this too. Part of that is on us, okay? Because it's not just with the preppers. 50% of the people who get their ham radio licenses never make contact 1.
Yeah, that's true.
And then if you take the 50% that do make contact 1, half of them never renew their license.
Yeah.
So that's so now you've got 75 out of 100 that'll never renew or get on the air past the first couple of contacts. You know, that begs the question, what are we doing wrong? You know, why didn't we help them? Or, you know, there's going to be a certain amount we did help, and they lose interest, or it's not for them. But how about the other ones? What didn't we do that would have kept them on the air?
Rocco, may I inject something here? I spent about 6 years as the director for our 10 county area, with the oath keepers, and they have almost as many nets as what we do. Okay, they don't call themselves the oath keepers anymore, but they are very active on radio, a lot of them. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay.
I have one thing, Rocco. I just wanted to
Thank
thank
you.
you guys for letting me join your little group here tonight. I appreciated the time.
Oh no, no problem, man. You know, we're discussing something that you kind of brought up, and so you should be here. That's, you know, and Jules wanted to help, and so we needed him here. I mean, we can use all the help we can get. Believe me. We want to be successful, and this is how we're going to do it. So.
Alrighty.
All right, and one other quick thing. I hear last month, now this is all through the grapevine, but I hear last month our grassroots effort has picked up another director who doesn't like the way things are going. So keep talking it up, keep up the good work. It is working. It is working. But please relay to your folks. I mean, I know they get discouraged. I do too, believe me. I'm, you know, but if we all leave, then we don't hold any of the cards. You know, if we're already not there, there's nothing we can do. So we'll keep trying to get people to come on board with us and rejoin and join, and eventually, you know, again, we're halfway there now. So, you know, one more and we're in control again. Keep that in mind. You know, keep reaching out to them, tell them to reach out to their directors. What's making the difference is all those hams who are reaching out to the other hams and the other areas and telling them what's going on. And it's a lot of them just don't know. Okay, they're members and they just don't know. They look for their QST magazine every month and they're paying for it, or they have no idea. Once they start calling that director who wants to be a director and says, listen, you keep your shit up and we're voting you out and there's nothing you can do about it. And they start getting those emails and those phone calls, and they're starting to come around. So that's what's got to continue to happen. So, and you get enough of them, then you can go with we don't want to find out you voted to keep the same CEO, because you'll be out the door right along with him. And guess what's going to happen? We'll get a new CEO. So, and I post these meetings and I don't give a shit if they see it. Because you know what? This is the members league. So anyway, anybody got anything else? All right, everybody. We went long. Sorry. But kind of a crazy meeting, but we'll be all right. We got some good stuff on the horizon. So thank you. 73, all.
Rocco,
Yes, Steve.
can you hang out after the meeting, Rocco? I got a question for you.
I can hang out as long as anybody wants to.
Okay.
Let me just kill the recording, and then anybody who wants to stick around and chat, stick around.